And good morning, Hoosier Nation, and welcome to another slightly disappointing edition of Hoosier Morning After. This is Hoosier Morning After Illinois. Yesterday in the afternoon game, not quite the noon game, 1 o'clock game, your Indiana Hoosiers go on to lose on the road in the Big Ten. A tough Big Ten, tough place to win is on the road in the Big Ten, as you always say, 71 to 51, 20-point difference and an 11-point spread that there was in this game, taking Indiana's record to 17-9 on the season, 8-7 in the Big Ten. Look, I think Indiana battled in this one. It's weird to say that when you kind of look down at the stats and everything, but I feel like it was a good battle from Indiana from the start in this one. Would be both teams kind of trading off and on the lead from the tip, but then it was a 10-0 run by Illinois in the middle of that half that would put them up by 9. After that, Indiana in the first half really kind of battled. It was really came back to a battle back and forth for the rest of that half. Indiana cutting slightly into that lead going into halftime, being down 7, despite the rebounding woes that were showing up in this one, along with a lot of missed shots on the offensive side. The second half would kind of be a different story. While I believe Indiana continued to battle, the second half started with 3 turnovers, which would really kind of set the tone of this second half in this one. While Indiana survived the first half of bad rebounding and that poor shooting, adding in the turnovers into the second half would just be too much for Indiana to deal with on the road against a top 10 team, and led to the loss in this one. Thank you for being here with us. I'm your host, Chad Schwartzkopf. Martha, the mop lady, out with business and stuff like that, but will pop in at one point. So we'll get Martha in the car on the phone at some point to talk with us in this one. And look, again, I know it said a lot about this game and everything, but it was Indiana going on the road. It was Indiana. We knew this was kind of a tough little chunk with this game and the next game. It's the toughest road games on our schedule. Illinois is a top 10 team. They are a top 10, maybe even top 5 offensive team as well. And it's going to be tough to find a win in that situation, going on the road against a team that's doing really well, that has one of their star guards back in this game, and is very, very diverse on the offensive side. I will say they can score in many different ways. They get Indiana into mismatches on the defensive end. But all that being said, I thought the defense beyond the rebounding was really good at keeping Illinois below their average. They kept Illinois to scoring 71 points on a team that scores into the 80s and 90s in a lot of their games. So that was kind of a really good thing. Indiana really took care of, like I said, that diversity that they have on the offensive side, and also really limited their makes from 3. And Illinois took 31 threes in this game and only made 7 of them. So Indiana was able to stick with that and contest those threes. So while you look at a large deficit in a game like this and you want to attribute it a lot to the other team's offense getting going, that was really kind of not the case in this one. It was really what kept Illinois in this game offensively and caused Indiana to possibly could have stopped them even more defensively, was just that rebounding, those crazy rebounds that they were able to get. 15 offensive rebounds in this game, which led to 17 points for Illinois. So you have a top 10 offense. You're able to kind of stymie that in the way that Indiana did, despite those situation, is pretty good. So, I mean, I will take that away, that the game plan on the defensive side for this team and by the coaching staff was executed very well, all things considered. Again, minus the rebounding issue, all that kind of stuff. And that can be chalked down to, sometimes you'll chalk down offense rebounds to effort. I think the effort was there to a degree. I think also as well, more so in this one, I will chalk that down more to personnel. Illinois is a very long team. They're a very athletic team. And we've seen how those combinations this year have given Indiana fits and struggles. And I think despite, again, maybe this is going to be the show and the game where that's the key word in this is despite. So despite Indiana doing all that and the score and the final thing, thought things looked pretty good in this game for Indiana. Flip the coin to the other side of the court. It was offense that really struggled for Indiana to get things to drop. And I think that as well, you can contribute to the physicality, the athleticism, and the length that Illinois has. There were a lot of open looks for Indiana in this game that just didn't go down. Indiana was 6 for 24 from 3 in this game, 25%. Yeah. If your shooting isn't traveling in the Big Ten, you're not going to have a happy night. You're not going to have a happy game. And Illinois, like I said, it's just a long physical team, and they played this game really physically with Indiana, and the refs allowed that. The refs allowed a very physical game in this one, and they were fairly consistent. I will say I didn't have many qualms with the reffing in this one, while Illinois would have a little to say on that. Obviously, you see the replays of Miles's attempt at blocking the Illinois guy as he went up for a layup and made contact with the head. Sure, if you want to replay that, if they wanted to give a flagrant on that, sure, but it's not a flagrant 2. That's just a flagrant 1, incidental contact with the head. The Illinois player just did a very good move and was able to move the ball slightly out of his reach as he was swiping down, trying to block. So he was going for the ball, incidental contact, wasn't called. I understand if you're aggravated by Illinois. But again, the refs, thank goodness, as they tend to be sometimes in Big Ten games, were not a factor in this one, did not insert themselves. They didn't slow the pace of the game. So I will give them the kudos to that. But I think it's just some of that physicality that was allowed that did enough to get into the psyche, I will say, of some of the shooting possibly for Indiana. That's possibly a way to excuse away, if you want to say, some of the lack of shot making in this game for Indiana. If you have an open look in a game where teams are playing physical with you and closing out on you hard and all that, it's going to cause you to rush your shot a little more than you naturally would. If you're playing a team that's not as physical, not up in your face the whole entire game, and you have an open 3, you have a little bit more time to kind of settle into your shot and take that. You're not thinking, here they come, they're going to barrel down on me. So that could be a reason to explain away some of the poor shooting in this. But it's also just been a little bit of a pattern that's been made with this team, is that they have struggled to bring that shooting along with them on the road in games. So it's just something to look out for. Again, the defense, granted, has traveled for Indiana, and that's the best thing you can have that will cause blowouts not to be as big as they could be, because it could have been a lot worse in this game. Moving on to players, I think Lamar had just kind of, it's weird to say this, but kind of his average game, his normal average scoring game in this one. He averages right around 20 points a game, and he got 21 for Indiana in this one. 8 for 14 from the field, 2 for 7 from 3 for him. Had some great moments in the second half where he got Indiana back within 7 after Illinois stretched it out to 12. But sadly, that was followed up by Indiana going 0 for 5 on the next 4 possessions. Or on the next 0 for 5 on the next 5 possessions, 4 of them being missed threes from Indiana. So that was kind of a real missed opportunity from Indiana there to kind of stretch out and bring it in closer in the second half. And that's the kind of thing that happens on the road or in games in general. You'll get runs back and forth. And that was one of those situations in this game that Indiana had an opportunity to bring it in closer in this game and couldn't just find the way to get that in. Another positive I think I will look at in this game is the continued rise of Sam Alexis. He had another good game, bringing his average up. Again, he averages on the season about 8 points a game, and he finished this one with 11 points on 5 for 9 from the field, and made one free throw that he had and had 8 rebounds. Obviously, you would like more rebounds out of him when things were kind of mismatch on that end for Indiana, but like to continue to see the upward swing that he has. He continues to show that he has more diverse game on the offensive side, has obviously found some confidence. The coaching staff has helped build that confidence, go to him, give him the green light to do that. You saw earlier in the season, he just felt like he had to be that kind of stat contributor, the rebounder, distributor kind of thing like that. And he's looked for his own shot. The coaching staff has given him opportunities to kind of post up on the block, find those little baby hooks that he's able to knock down, a little bit of kind of a fadeaway that he's able to knock down in this game as well. So I like the continued trajectory that we have from Sam Alexis. I think he's a player that has been needed. He's added that dimension that has been missing for this team, for Indiana. So I like that. I hope he continues to build up, and he's going to have a big one coming up next on the road against Purdue with their bigs and what they like to do underneath. So knock on wood, he stays healthy, continues to contribute like he can. And loving what we get from Sam Alexis. DeVries, a little bit higher up in the scoring than we've seen recently from him, had 13 in this game on 5 for 12 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3. So he was missing some of his 3 shots, but not too far off his average percentage. It was his second foul early in the first half that took him out, that was kind of really the catalyst for Illinois to go on the run that kind of brought their lead for the first point. When he went out with that second foul, again, that second foul possibly a little questionable, but was benched after that second foul. The score was 15-18. And then when he finally went back in, Indiana hadn't scored while he was sitting. It was now 15-24. So that was kind of the catalyst for that run, that 10-0 run in the first half for Illinois, was the lack of having DeVries, that leadership that he gives for Indiana, not having him on the court at that point. So it just shows how important having him as that leader and distributor, and really kind of a secondary point guard, or a kind of offensive initiator in the forward position for Indiana. We need him out there as many minutes as we can, and it shows how Indiana struggled to deal with that in that situation, because you take away that segment and it's probably a halftime where either Indiana's up 2, Illinois is possibly up 2, or we might be square at half. So tough to see that, and you really hope that Indiana can find answers for that, because that has definitely been a pattern we have seen throughout the year with this team. We have to get Nick Dorn going. He kind of has been on a downward swing in the scoring column recently. We had those good stretchy games where he was kind of in double digits, tickling 20 points each game. And these last few games has just been slowly kind of diminishing. This game, he only finishes with 1 point. And he was 0 for 5 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3. Like I said, 1 for 2 from the free throw line, just making 1 free throw in this one. And that's in 32 minutes. So hopefully we can get him back going. Hopefully this is the downward swing. Maybe he's just a player that likes roller coasters, like we talked about earlier in the season on this show, about this team just kind of being that roller coaster team. Maybe that's just what kind of player we have with Nick Dorn, and he's just struggling to find that upward swing again. And we're going to need that on the road against Purdue on Friday. So hopefully we find that again. I think he kind of struggled to have a more than one-dimensional game in this one, where all of his shots, or most of his shots, were coming from three. He didn't get to the rim as much. Again, that you can chalk down to some of the physicality that Illinois brings, and that length and everything. Like I said, I sounds like I keep bringing it up. It's a crutch and everything, but that was the main factor for this team in this one. But yeah, I think it is really important for this team to have Nick Dorn in double digits every game, and when you just get 1 point out of him, that's a tough thing. It's going to be tough to find the right type of production offensively when you don't have the multiple weapons to spread things out in this one. Now, the interesting discussion that you've seen on social media, you always kind of get every year, you always get that one player that gets the attention on social media with posts talking about how they should be given more time, why didn't this person play more, all that kind of thing. And while we did talk about it a little bit in the last episode of Hoosier Morning After, that player has clearly become Trent Sicily. And I think a lot of that has to do with some early production that we saw out of him in some of the non-conference games and some of the easier portion of the year. And it's interesting to think about that. Should he be getting more minutes? Should he be getting more taste? Yes, he should. He is a freshman, and he is going to have some struggles out there. And is the staff holding him back because maybe there's something going on right now, that he's slightly injured or something? Could be in one game case. Could be that they don't see matchups going well for him in a game that they can allow him to have minutes. It's also something where, like we talked about last time, where Trent Sicily is that player that he is more of a 4 player. He's going to play the 4. That's his best spot to play in. You might play him in a 3 in some occasions when you can match him up properly against another team's 3, and he can handle that on the defensive side. Now, could that have been the case in this one, where he's not going to get that run because of matchups? You don't want to bring him in the 3 spot to sub in for Nick Dorn or Josiah Miles. Those are the guys that kind of really occupy that 3 spot. You kind of think of Trent Sicily living more in that 4 spot, coming in for Tucker DeVries. And he didn't come in for Tucker DeVries in that moment where he was out in the first half. The only minutes that Trent got in this game was in the final minute of the game. So that's interesting, because to me, that's the one argument against more minutes for Trent Sicily, is just because where do you sub him in? Who does he go in for? And to me, that's Tucker DeVries. And we need Tucker DeVries to have every minute he can, like I illustrated before, talking about the lack of production and that run that Illinois went on when he was out in this game. But the interesting fact or question then to bring up is, why didn't Trent go in for DeVries in that segment? And I don't have an answer there. So sure, maybe he does need a few more minutes. This is albeit extreme example of the lack of minutes for him or playing time. I don't think there is necessarily a huge pattern of that yet to this degree. I think there are some games where you've seen a lack of minutes, as far as, I would just say, maybe 5. You'd want 5 more minutes out of him. But in those ones, I can easily argue away that that's a factor to needing Tucker in there, for those extra 5 minutes or so. But yeah, maybe in this one, that was a missed opportunity for possible catalyst in the second half. He could have been possibly that player to go in, try him at the 3, try him in there when shots weren't going down for Nick Dorn. If you're still going to get a lack of scoring from Nick Dorn, put in Trent Sicily to at least be that hustle guy and possibly grab a few more rebounds on the defensive side for you. So, yeah, we will keep an eye on that. We will look at that further and see if it needs more attention. We'll definitely talk about it here on this show if it becomes something that needs that. Because obviously, again, the argument always is that he's a freshman. He's shown some good things, so you want him to get game time experience. You want him to get game reps. And when you have opportunities and we don't take advantage of that, you hate to see missed opportunities. And possibly there were those moments in this game. But that would be probably one of my slim and only real criticisms, honestly, of the coaching staff in this game. Because again, like I said, they did a good job of running offensive calls to get open looks for players. They just didn't hit them. And they had a good game plan on the defensive end where they limited the scoring of Illinois down to 71 points. It's just the offense and the rebounding that couldn't do it. And is that the coaching staff not getting it out of the guys on the hustle side to not get those rebounds? Possibly. I think it's more of the fact of just you're dealing with a longer, more athletic Illinois team. It's a good team. It's a team in Illinois that is battling for first place seeding in the tournament and could arguably possibly get that. They're, in my eyes, at least a 2 seed. So they may end up a 1 seed, depending on how they finish off their season. So it's a very good team in Illinois. Turning around, looking at stats in this game. Now, if Martha does pop in, I apologize because we will slide back and talk a little bit more about the Trent thing because I know that Martha really wanted to kind of approach that. But for now, we'll move on to talking a little bit about stats in this game. And turnovers, while not high in this game at 9, if you look at them from a total, it was the fact that Illinois capitalized on those turnovers, scoring 14 points from those turnovers, whereas Indiana just had 2 points off of Illinois' 2 turnovers. And I think, if I believe, let me bring up the stats as I'm talking to you right here, but I think it was really kind of the second half where a lot of those turnovers happened for Indiana. Yeah, Indiana had 7 turnovers in the second half, just 2 in the first half. So, obviously coupled with everything else that was going wrong for Indiana in that's kind of where it was. And the rebounds as well. Like we said, the rebounding margin, while not very different overall, it was what Illinois was able to do. Was very dramatic overall. 38 rebounds for Illinois, 25 for Indiana. It was the 15 offensive rebounds by Illinois that led to 17 points for them, whereas Indiana second chance points were just 5. So we all know and remember there's that one possession where I think they got 3 offensive rebounds off of it. So you give a team that many chances, that's going to be kind of the outcome you're going to run into in a game like this. Looking around as well, I mean, I think Illinois did a good job on their defensive end as well with that physicality, and Indiana struggled with that some, which led to 7 steals from Illinois. The assists pretty even, 10 for Indiana, 11 for Illinois. The assists to made baskets sitting at 50% in this one, 10 to 20, 10 assists to 20 made baskets. It was just the percentages that weren't great. Indiana finishing with 40% from the field. And again, that rough 25% from 3 in this one. In the second half, even lower, as they were trying to get things going at 18% from 3. Yeah, I mean, again, the positive, at least, stat to look at in this game is that you limit Illinois to 71 points, that the defense travels in this game. And yeah, not many other stats that are going to blow your hair back or get you excited about this game overall. I will take the moment in this show, as we always do towards the end of the show, to talk about our unofficial sponsor of Hoosier Morning After, and that is Hoosier Ticket Project. Hoosier Ticket Project is a not-for-profit organization run by some very good Hoosiers, and they take care of Hoosiers. If you are a ticket holder for Indiana sporting events and you find yourselves in the last situation, not being able to go, rather than putting them on the secondary market and everything like that, think about giving them and donating them to Hoosier Ticket Project, because Hoosier Ticket Project will take those tickets and will find a deserving family, deserving Hoosier Nation fans that maybe don't have the means or the opportunity to go to games, and they will donate those tickets. They will find good homes for Hoosiers to be able to create those memories, go to first games, maybe even find organizations that are trying to get a group of kids to go and everything. That is where Hoosier Ticket Project comes into play. So you can go to HoosierTicketProject.org. Again, that's HoosierTicketProject.org. There is a donate section where you can donate your tickets. Also, they have an opportunity as we are getting into tax season. And if you were looking at your taxes and seeing that you possibly didn't donate as much as you possibly should have in the year 2025, think about Hoosier Ticket Project when you make those donations. If you need to make up for that in 2026, they do take monetary donations to help out those situations as well. There's also an opportunity if you have family members, friends, or people that you know of that would be deserving recipients of tickets to games from Hoosier Ticket Project. There is a spot on their website where you can go and nominate people to receive tickets. So think about Hoosier Ticket Project as we get towards the end of these basketball season, both on the men's and women's side. Again, HoosierTicketProject.org is where you can go. Turning around and kind of final thoughts on this game. Again, overall, taking care of business on the defensive side of the ball was something that you can kind of hang your hat and be proud of. The defense traveled in this game. It is a game that you wish you could have showed up a little bit more. Again, the spread being about 11 points, and you didn't come close to that, losing by 20. But it's a Big Ten road game, and those Big Ten road games are tough games, and it's tough to find wins on the road in the Big Ten, not to mention against a team that is in the top 10, a team that has I would argue, top 5 offense in Illinois, and a team that is going to be at the top of the tournament when seeding time comes around. So, yes, missed opportunity to get a huge win, but a huge win it would have been to steal this one on the road. And now Indiana goes and has possibly, and I would argue, their second hardest, maybe at the beginning of the season, you would say first hardest road game or game period on the schedule. And that is against your rival Purdue on Friday at 8 p.m. It's on Fox. Going to be a tough one. Purdue has the narrative out there that they've been struggling and everything. Indiana beat them on their home court. You're going to have seniors on this Purdue team that are right now sitting one game above 500 against their rival Indiana, and they're not going to want to, there's some good English for you. They do not want to finish their career with 2 games down over 500 against Indiana. So Braden Smith's going to come out firing. He struggled against Indiana in the last one, and I think We saw Connor Enright have a great game against him in the first one, the home game. Hopefully he can continue to build on that. Again, like I said in last show, I really hope to see a she-he type of flex on the student section from Connor Enright. We might get a technical from Connor Enright in this one. He's going to be going crazy. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see what kind of situation we run into. And I hope we can steal it. I hope we can steal it. Again, it's tough to win on the road, but I like to see the defense traveled in this Illinois game. And they need to continue to travel for Indiana in this Purdue game. Hopefully the offense can find some rhythm again and make up for the lack of shooting. And we could be in a good spot for this game. It would be a big win. It'd be the marquee win of the season for this team, and it would put them in a better situation when we look towards Selection Sunday. Because right now, as we continue to see, this team does sit right kind of at that bubble. So we have to take care of business. And while the schedule does get a little bit easier after this Purdue game, having Northwestern, Michigan State, and Minnesota at home, and then finishing the season against Ohio State at Ohio State, there's a lot of winnable games left and a lot of business to take care of. Got to take care of business at home. But that'll do it for now for this edition of Hoosier Morning After. Thank you for being here with me on this one. Follow me on Twitter at General Chadwick. There you can find out more information about the show when we're going to go live and everything. If you're listening on the podcast streams, don't forget to subscribe, hit a thumbs up, leave a review, anything that they allow on that. If you're watching on YouTube right now as well, thumbs up for me. Hit that follow as well. Thank you guys. We'll be back again the morning after next game. Until then, go out there, have a wonderful day, and let's go Hoosiers.